Maybe we can drop into our breath and begin to bring ourselves to this day together around a sacred fire, feeling each other shoulder to shoulder around this fire that we gather every full moon. Putting your arms over the shoulder of the person next to you, feeling their arms around you, shoulder to shoulder, medicine man, medicine woman, all children of the mother, the divine mother, holding each other by the sacred fire, a circle of hope and healing and strength. In these times that hope and healing and strength are so needed. Seeing each other around the fire. And then our circle moving slowly around the fire. Spinning, rotating gradually, slowly, in a natural dance around a sacred fire. And then we take our place, our seat around the fire. That place that has been held for us for so long, since the very beginning of time. And we see the reflection of the fire in each other's faces. The fire that heals, that transforms, and that illumines us, even in our most challenging moments. That sacred fire that we are always around. Take a deep breath and exhale. And another deep breath. And another. And gaze around the sacred circle. Look into the eyes of the men and women that are our shaman companions. And we have known forever. We have known each other. We have never not been with each other. Gaze around the fire. And as you look around the fire, you'll see faces that you recognize from long ago. 100 years, 1,000 years ago. And here we are again with each other. And now gazing at the fire, and know that this is the fire that burns in the belly of our mother, the earth, combined with the fire from our father, the sun, the masculine, the feminine, the divine fire of the mother, and the fire of the divine father. Take a deep breath, inhaling deeply. And exhale. And another one. This full moon on relationships, the Mars and Venus are coming really close to each other in alignment, which is shedding light on love, on Venus, on relationships, and on cleaning up our relationships. I remember speaking to an old medicine woman one time, and she looked into my eyes and she said to me, Alberto, be careful who your lovers are, because you take their imprint with you for the rest of your life. Now what you have to do since you have tried learning so long through the path of love, she said to me, and I had. I had tried finding love, leaving love, abandoning love, giving up on love, returning to love with the other, and with the perfect other, with the other that could mirror myself back to me most beautifully. And always that dream would end up in a nightmare. And she said to me, you have to release all of those loves and the promises that you made. And I said, but I never promised anyone anything. She said, you didn't have to use words, but the promises that you suggested, that you alluded to, and you've got to return that to the fire. So one of the topics that we have for today in Shaman 21 is spring cleaning. And I'd like for us to do a little bit later, and maybe this evening you will do it at home again. It's a spring cleaning of all of the lovers, the loves in our lives that we have left behind. And left behind with beauty, left behind in a storm, left behind in chaos, left behind in pain, left behind in joy, but that we have touched deeply and continued on, so that we can then truly be available to the beloved, to the one that Rumi speaks about when he says to the beloved, to God, for I have ceased to exist. Only you are here. And when I look back at my young loves, and it was all about, for you have ceased to exist, only I am here. Only I am here. Very selfish kind of love, not unconditional love, not the love of the beloved. And it's so important that we make our way back to the beloved, and that we release all of those promises that we made, all of the hopes and dreams that we pinned onto the other, and that we still carry in our field. Because you don't want to be doing this when you're 97 years old. You don't want to be closing your eyes and seeing yourself again with that guy that hurts you so much, or that you love so much, or with that woman that... No, this is what the shamans call the recapitulation process, where we're able to recapitulate. We go back and visit and recover the energy that we have trapped and bound around these love promises that we alluded to, even if we didn't verbalize it, even if we didn't say, I will be with you for the rest of eternity, but we thought it, and that was enough. Or the other expected it, or the other was terribly heartbroken, or you were devastated. And that creates a kind of trauma bond that you have with that other person that in reality the universe was using to teach you a lesson, but that we still hold responsible for all of that pain that we experienced. A little bit later on, I want to invite you to join me in a ceremony of releasing the lovers, the loves, the old loves that still linger, and that some of them we make even more terrible than they were, simply by remembering them, or even more beautiful than they actually were, because we want to embellish that memory and we want to let go of all of that, so we don't have to do it at the end of our lives. And in the process, we recover, we reclaim that soul part that we put into bondage, that we mortgaged, to be able to have an experience of the divine with another, whether it actually happened or not. But our hope was that that would be the case. So the exodus from Egypt, it's a journey to freedom. It's a journey to Moses goes to the Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh says, take your people, go, leave. But then he changes his mind. So he starts chasing the Israelites that are coming to the Red Sea, and they've got the Egyptian armies behind them and the sea in front of them, and they didn't know how to swim, and there was no way to get across anyway. And according to lore, it wasn't until they were into the Red Sea to the noses, to the level of their noses, that the seas parted. And that's the way that the universe works with us. It tests our resolve. It wants us to take the first steps, and then the universe begins to conspire on your behalf, the cease part. On the other hand, when I am faced with real challenges, I get to the Red Sea and I want to put my toe in the water to see if it's warm. And I want to make sure that there's someone on the other side that's holding a nice, fluffy towel. But that is not the way it works. The universe tests your resolve. And if you don't practice great courage as a deep act of love and courage, the seas don't part. Then you have to return back to slavery. So that journey to freedom is such an important journey today. One of my mentors said to me one time, Alberto, I can see your world from my perspective, but you cannot see my world. And I go, what do you mean? Don't we all live in the same world? And he said, no, you live in the world of masters and slaves. And in your world, it's better to be a master than a slave, a little less painful, but you're both still trapped in this world of doing, of performing, of being productive, of contributing something to an unreal society. Whereas he said to me, I live in freedom. I live in freedom. So my question to you, and what I want to invite you to consider, is what is your Egypt? What is our personal Egypt that we need to leave from right now with no guarantees? Moses said to the Israelites, hey guys, it's only going to be 40 days in the desert and then we're going to get to the promised land. If he had said 40 years, you know how many would have gone? Even the Kabbalists, the old Kabbalists say that 60% of the Israelites stayed behind. They said to themselves, building pyramids for the Pharaoh, it's hard work, it's backbreaking work. The benefits are not very good. You don't get much vacation time, but it beats not having a job. You guys go. The 60% remain behind. That's what the Kabbalists say. So the invitation today is to find out what your Egypt is, that you need to depart, that you need to leave. And it's almost always generally an internal state, a set of beliefs, a set of preconceptions about how the world works and what the world would be like if you did not have, or if you lost something that's enslaving you. I had a friend of mine say to me one time, Alberto, my job is killing me. It's like a nightmare, and I'd like to wake up from it, but I need the sleep. And he died. He died in his job a few years later. What is the Egypt that we're so ready to leave right now, that the universe, that life is inviting us to leave? What are the beliefs and the ideas about how economics works? Our economic systems is one of masters and slaves as well, of keeping people in bondage. We're training children for jobs that don't exist anymore. But we don't train them about freedom. I remember as a child being asked, what do you want to do, Alberto, when you grow up? Instead of, who do you want to be? What do you want to be? And today we make to-do lists. This morning, I tore my to-do list up and I made a to-be list. A to-be, what do I want to be? How do we take this as an opportunity to step into freedom? Today, for Christians, is the beginning of Easter week. Today's the day that Jesus returns to Jerusalem triumphant. So he has spread his message, he has gathered his followers, and he's returning to Jerusalem, and he's going to be put through the tests and trials right now. Humanity's in the same place right now, at the very peak of our glory as a human creature, this creation that we have, that we call the human world, with its economic systems and its shipping systems and its trains and buses and highways and cutting down the forest so we can we were at the peak and the epitome of this model of humanity that's now up for review, big time. now we're being put through the test. Now we're being put through the trials. And we're being put through that test through death. And this is what Jesus goes through to become the Christ. Remember, Jesus was a nice Jewish boy. He was not a Christian. Buddha was not a Buddhist. That happened later. He was a nice Jewish boy that had become awakened. That was a prophet, and that was recognized that he and the Father are one. The Father and I are one. He recognized that. Wow, what a discovery, what a model for us. And then he must go through the death and rebirth, as we are challenged to do it this time right now. I invite you to take a lot of time for yourself this week. Don't go back to doing, but take a week for being. This is such an important time globally, around the planet, for the people of the Abrahamic religions, which is all basically Western civilization, to come and do a great recapitulation, putting into the fire that which no longer serves, so that we can then make our way back to that land, the promised land, or that newly, because we've never been there before, to that promised land. And to make sure that we get there, because what happens to Moses is that he's in the desert and he has a staff. It's a staff of power. It's a staff that he could tap the rocks with, and water would spring forth from the rocks in the desert. And the staff had the 13 plagues that he could summon at any time, the plagues of locusts, the plagues of... And right before, of course, the departure from Egypt, you have the angel of death coming, the taste being tested by death again. And the Israelites understanding that if they marked their doors with the symbol of a cross, with a lamb's blood, the blood of a lamb, that the angel of death will spare them, will spare that family, will not take their firstborn. And this is at the same time what Christianity promises. Christ comes and says, "For I am the Lamb of God." And with the blood of the Lamb of God, his death, he brings freedom to humanity. The promise of freedom, but we have to go through that trial. And we're going through that trial. And it's better that we go through it energetically and symbolically, and not at the literal level, not at the physical level, not with a health issue, not with a stress level in your body that depresses your immune system and makes you so unresilient that you cannot maintain your health. What the first criteria for longevity, remember, from our Grow a New Body program, the first criteria for longevity is to not die young from something preventable or stupid. So take this as an opportunity to step it up to the sacred, engage it in the sacred. Take this week for yourself. Give yourself time. And this is a week, the theme in the heavens, in the sky with the full moon, it's about relationship. It's about cleaning up old relationships. And the invitation that I want to make to you is to clean up the old loves and the old lovers, because those are the most intense relationships where we invest so many of our hopes and our dreams and our expectations. Remember saying to that man or that woman, "You are the one that I've been waiting for my entire life." Yes, and that turned into the nightmare that you've been avoiding your entire life. But of course, that was the universe offering you an opportunity to learn. I'm convinced that the reason that monks remains unmarried is because the path of learning through love is so difficult, so challenging, but so rich, so that then we can direct our love to the beloved, to the great beloved, the one that Rumi speaks about when he says, "For I have ceased to exist. Only you are here. Only Spirit is here." Christ says the same thing. God, the Father and I are one. The Mother and I are one, the shamans say. I have ceased to exist. Only spirit is here. That requires that we create the spaciousness to entertain and to hold this thought. And I want to share with you on a really practical serpent level the ceremony that I've been doing lately, which is the one where we shed all of the hopes and dreams and fantasies of that perfect love that we sought. But in the shamanic traditions, remember, you don't shed the incident, what happened to you, but the relationship to the person. In the West, the more masculine approach is, tell me what happened to you. What happened? No. The shamans say, who was there? How did you create a trauma bond with that person so that the next time you reincarnate, you might fall in love with them and try to work that out from this lifetime? We want to avoid that. That's very expensive healing. So I want to invite you to, if you have a candle, to bring your candle and light it. And if not, we can use my candle, or you can use the virtual fire that's in the center of our sacred circle. And then take a moment to light your candle if you have it with you. And we work with fire. Remember that our path is the path of fire. We are the fire shamans. They're shamans that follow the way of water, and they're the healers. Beautiful path. There's some that follow the way of wind. They're the storytellers. Beautiful. Some follow the ways of earth. They breed and crossbreed their wisdom and their corn and their potatoes, and they feed the people. And there's some that follow the ways of fire, which is the way of rapid transformation. This is the lightning path. In the Himalayas, they call it the path of the Vajra, of the lightning, Vajrayana. Amazing. The instant illumination, the transformation that happens through fire. Okay. So you don't need to go lover by lover or love by love. And it doesn't have to be someone you slept with. It could be someone you projected onto. Let me tell you a story, a personal story that has to stay between us. When I was a young man, I was a swimmer, and I was in a swimming team, and I was deeply in love with Rosita. Rosita was also in the same team, and she swam a couple of lanes away from me, but I was very shy, very timid. I didn't even dare to speak with her. But when we were in practice, I could feel her ripples from her swimming, coming across the lanes and touching mine, and I felt that we had contact through water. I was so shy. I don't know what happened. And everything with her was this great fantasy. She was a perfect lover because we had no contact. And then a few years later, we met again. I was a bit more mature, and we laughed and we hugged and we looked at each other, and we saw that we were totally incompatible people. I was in love with my fantasy. And so many of our loves are about that. And the harsh reality of it is that the other that holds the mirror to you, that we have to be so grateful for, is the one that's inviting you to grow through the path of love. And it doesn't have to be a lover. It can be a child. It can be a dog. It can be a stranger that looks into your eyes and you go, thank you, Spirit. So remember, for the shamans, it's not what happened. It's not the story, but the people and the feelings that linger. So I'm going to take Rosita again, and I'm going to put her into the stick. But I'm going to put especially all of those dreams and fantasies and hopes that I had of someone who really loved me the way that I wanted to be. And release that to the fire, and then I'm going to take that energy of the fire and bring it into my heart center to do a kind of recovery, a soul recovery of power. This is how we reclaim the power, particularly from those difficult relationships. Remember that terrible relationship where he just trampled all over you and abandoned you and didn't pay alimony and you had to sue? Put that one in first, because you've got a lot of energy wrapped around that one still. So this is freeing your love up, emptying the cup of love so that it can be filled with the sacred wine of the beloved. With that wine that when you drink it, it's going to take you through to freedom. It's going to take you to freedom. This is what the great teachings of Passover and the great teaching of Easter is about. It's about freedom. It's about deep, deep freedom and breaking free even from death. So pick one or two names. You don't have to go lover by lover. It might take a very long time. You can put them all in a stick. And if there's a salient one that comes up, at that point you light your candle and you put them in the fire. So let's take a moment and let's put it into the stick. And then bring it to your fire. I like to do this with Palo Santo because it burns very nicely, but if you need to cleanse one of your chakras, you can do that as well with the fire. And then bring that energy to your heart. Take that love that you projected onto the other, hoping to find through the other, and claim it. Bring it home to you. Bring it to you. And let that love be that fire, that light that guides you to the freedom from your Egypt, that guides you through the tests that we're going through today of what needs to die so that we can be reborn into infinity. And remember that we're always around a sacred fire, that we have been together before. We've come here to serve a mission. I'm on a mission. I have a mission. You have a mission. We have taken this mission on to bring a little more beauty, a little bit more light, to speak up about truth a little bit more without antagonizing people, and to help humanity go through this great transition that we're going through at this time, to be able to see the silver lining, the opportunity, and not just the test and the trial, but to see the promise of discovering the beloved so that we can say at some point, for I have ceased to exist. Only you are here, Great Spirit. God, only you are here.